Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes, Start Your Morning Right. I'm Sabrina Daly and thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a bright and early Tuesday morning, January 23rd, and we just really want to say thank you so much for joining us wherever you are, locally or abroad, at home, in your beds or on your couches, or if you're already at work like I am. Thank you for starting your morning right here with us. We have a wonderful show lined up for you this morning. It's just Tuesday, so however you are starting your morning right, I'm glad that you started it right here with us. We're going to start things off with, of course, our What's Buzzing segment, and we have two topics that we want to touch on really briefly. Starting things off, there is the conversation that is still trending online as it relates to the alleged rape allegation against a well-known attorney and UDP affiliate. We were able to talk about that extensively last week and hear different sides. There has been further developments as it relates to a social media post. Now, this post has to do with hot off the press. It is supposedly what we would call new media type of news. Apparently, this social media page is owned or closely affiliated with the alleged attorney. And a social media post was shared what people are calling victim blaming. It also included a video that showcased these ladies, these alleged victims, in the nightclub dancing. The post kind of shares in caption that these women essentially did not really have what they were saying they had with the alleged rape person. So we were able to get an interview from Minister of Home Affairs, Karim Musa, and he gave his comment on it. So we want to provide that video to you now, his interview, where he gave a brief comment on the video that was shared and the post that was made from hot off the press. And directly after, I'll be joined by Paul Lopez, and we will be giving some feedback on that.
I had a discussion just now over at National Security Council about establishing regulations for the media. There has to be some control because we know every single day a new media outlet pops up online with no sort of accountability or transparency to see who are the actors behind these websites, behind these social media pages, and we don't know whether these are legitimate media houses, and so there has to be some action taken by the Belize Broadcasting Authority to put in place legislation and regulations to ensure that we can get rid of these types of social media pages that are using it, like you rightly pointed out, for the totally wrong purposes, undermining the police work and also trying to further the personal agenda of one individual.
So that was Minister of Home Affairs, Karim Musa. Paul, thank you so much for joining us now. So one of the things that stood out to me based on what he was saying was that formal media, there's an ongoing discussion on how they could address these kinds of social media pages. We know that there's many more than just hot off the press. There's Breaking Belize News, many others, I believe. Those were just the two that I could remember from the top of my head. But one of the concerns that people are having, including Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa, is that these pages are not run in the formal way that legitimate news media houses are run. So they're trying to find a way to address what could simply be social media pages targeting people and spreading lies, essentially.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things that stood out to me about his comments has to do with kind of figuring out who the proprietors of these pages are, who owns these so-called media outlets, who established them, who in fact are the individuals, the personalities funding these so-called media outlets. And interestingly, I believe firmly that if you want to know who are behind these on social media outlets, news outlets, you can find out. There are ways to find out. These outlets, they oftentimes air ads, social media ads to kind of sustain or maintain their pages.
Just like news houses,
just like
us,
news houses, because it seems to be
a business,
a for-profit type of business, a for-profit type of operation, and so a lot of times even the government of Belize uses some of these media houses or these social media news outlets to push their ads and to push forward their information to social media consumers. And if you really want to find out who owns these sites or who are behind these social media news outlets, you can do so simply by tracking the money. Track the money through your government system. Find out from like police, you're investigating. Find out from businesses who are paying for these ads, whose name is the account linked to. If you really want to stomp these things out and get a hold on some of these and put an end to some of these bullying tactics and the misinformation that some of these social media news outlets spread, and if you really want to get a hold on that, I believe you can do so, one, by simply following the money where these ads, purchasing of ads and financial transactions are
What would be
concerned.
interesting as well, Paul, is to know if a lot of these news pages are registered, if that's something that they can be, because as you mentioned, a lot of them are producing paid ads. So do they pay taxes for these monies generated? Again, also, do they have employees? I know that there are some of these pages that they show the author of the article, but a lot of times they don't. They just show kind of like get it first type news, things that are trending online. So it would be interesting to know if they are legitimate registered businesses and if they even pay taxes. That's also something to look into.
Yeah, a lot of these media houses, if you are if you're working in news, you would know, and a lot of times people that follows multiple social media pages for news outlets would realize that a lot of these pages, these news outlets that are solely social media, oftentimes copy and paste the work of well-established news outlets. In other words, credible journalists go out and they collect this data, and oftentimes that very same data that is collected, the work that is done by credible journalists,
they just reword it, or they copy and paste it,
or they copy and paste it word for word.
Yeah,
it's basically stealing.
Yeah,
it's stealing information so as to have content for your page, so that you could sell ads, so that you could make a profit. And that's an issue. And the question remains: who is this? Who are these funds that you're making from these ads? Who are these funds going to? Do you have employees? Do you have journalists on the field? Or is it simply that you're copying and pasting every single day all the news items that credible journalists go out and collect, just so that you could sell ads to make a profit, to have money in your pocket just for you personally.
Yeah. Also, that I think is an excellent point, as you mentioned there, Paul. If they don't have journalists going out and gathering these information, or if they do, are they following the journalistic standards or legal standards that we have to follow, that we are guided by? And a lot of times it isn't the case. They are guided by social media policies. As long as you don't bully or slander or share something absolutely outrageous, you can get away with these things. So I think what is important here, Paul, is having viewers, persons that receive news essentially from social media, to be able to tell the difference between legitimate news sources and illegitimate news sources, because this is something that we cannot avoid. There will be news pages popping up. I'm not sure how much control we will be able to place on them, as the Minister of Home Affairs is sharing with us. But I think what is essential is to share with our viewers how to tell the difference between illegitimate news platforms or news pages versus the ones that are following journalistic standards that we are guided by, essentially making sure that, of course, the news is timely, is accurate, that we did our research. You just don't go based on hearsay. You could get a legal document the same day or the next day. And many media houses face that when they don't fact check. And a lot of times that's the case for these news pages.
It's the issue of media literacy, Sabrina. Understanding, being able to distinguish the difference between credible news sources and what I refer to as incredible news sources.
I love it.
Oh, that's incredible. How is it that you could post something like that? That's incredible. How is it that you could say something like that? That's incredible versus credible news sources. And that's media literacy. And there are certain things that you can do to verify whether or not a media source is credible. And once you figure out that, wait, this media source is not credible, it's actually incredible, then you can take steps to find credible sources. And one of the steps you can take is, in fact, fact checking. You know, cross checking the information with that of your credible media source. When you go on Facebook, there's an about section on a Facebook page that you can look into, and you can basically get details on these pages. Credible media houses oftentimes have information about their values, have information about their standards. They don't hide things about oftentimes who their employees are, and this sort of information that provides viewers or readers or users with a broad sense of what this media page is all about.
So what it represents,
what they represent. So that's one of the things that you can do. Another thing, another step that you can take, and perhaps you'll inject with a couple, another step that you can take is really delving into some of the grammar.
Writing is a big one.
That's the writing. Credible media houses or sources, for the most part, spends a lot of time ensuring that there's proper grammar in their writing, that there's that sentences and paragraphs and stories are structured in a professional manner. And so that's another thing you can look out for. How is the grammar? How is the writing? And then the motive behind the story as well.
I mean, we can tell them, Paul, our news director, it's important that we put out not only factual information, but that it's structured properly, that it's written properly as well. And we have an entire team that ensures that that takes place. But I think one of the also important things when it comes to sharing news on any platform is, if it's not our own, we ensure that we cite our sources. And that's not always the case for other news, I'd say social media news pages. Like you mentioned, Paul, they would simply go and copy and paste, or they just take it as their own, or reword it. And it's so important that you cite your sources. If we would gather news from international media sources, we say where it comes from. We say what particular quote we took from a certain international media source. So it's so important to check these little details that could really be the difference between notifying or being aware of what is illegitimate or what is credible, and as Paul mentioned, incredible.
Yeah, the bottom line here to stick a pin in this conversation is to do your due diligence to seek and get your information from credible news sources like our news source, which is News 5. And that way you can avoid buying into the constant propaganda that these pop-up social media news sources tend to push an agenda and making a profit off of it, because we as consumers fall victim to these type of things. And so that's very interesting. What's buzzing topic, Sabrina.
Yeah. All right. Well, since we're a bit short for time, let's just move into our weather update this morning. Of course, Paul, it's some relatively good weather we've been experiencing. I know over the weekend it was a wet one, up until yesterday as well. But I think this morning it seems like it promises to be
a kind of hot day,
a kind of warmer or drier day for the most part. So I'm looking forward to that weather update from the National Meteorological Service, finding out what we can expect today as it relates to our weather. I know that I actually, on my way coming to work, I saw a lot of the buses. It seems like it might be a tourism day, like a ship day.
Well, it's Tuesday, and I think we're far past tourism only cruise
on
ships
Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Yeah. Alrighty, we have with us Tariq Matthews on the line. Good morning, forecaster Matthews.
Yes, good morning, Sabrina and Paul.
Good morning.
Alrighty, that satellite map there looks pretty clear. What can we expect today as it relates to the general situations?
Okay, for the general situation, dry conditions are setting in over our area, no?
Okay. Does that extend to our 24-hour forecast?
Okay, for our 24-hour forecast, mostly sunny today and clear to partly cloudy tonight. Showers, if any, will be isolated.
With those showers, do you have any warnings or advisories?
Currently, we have a small craft caution in effect for occasional gusty winds and locally rough seas, no?
Okay, so with those seas, what are the marine conditions looking like?
Okay, for the marine conditions, the winds will be from the east-southeast at 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and sea conditions will be moderate to rough.
Okay. What's the general outlook looking like for midweek?
Okay, for the outlook, it's looking good. We have for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for mainly fair conditions. Showers, if any, will be isolated.
Okay. And what's the temperatures looking like today?
Okay, for the temperatures for today, the max will range from 85 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 89 inland, and 77 up in the hills.
Oh, nice.
On our low temperatures for tonight, it will be around 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 75 inland, and 68 up in the hills.
Those are some lovely temperatures right there, forecaster Matthews.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for that weather update this morning. We appreciate it, and I know we are certainly looking forward to those temps as well.
Okay, guys. Thank you, guys.
You have a good one.
Okay, you too.
All right, that's your weather update. Paul, it looks like it's going to be a pretty dry one. There is a small craft caution advisory out, though, so definitely take heed for those that information applies to.
Yeah.
But moving on into now our eye-opener this morning. Our eye-opener is your daily dose of positivity that we provide to you. And, of course, our eye-opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. Our past experiences can and do influence our emotional reactions and responses to present events. Our experiences color everything. The events of the past can have a profound effect on how we see our lives now and what we choose to believe about our world. Our past experiences can also influence our emotional reactions and responses to present events. Each of us reacts to stimulus based on what we have learned in life. There is no right or wrong to it. It's simply the result of past experience. Later, when our strong feelings have passed, we may be surprised at our reactions. Yet, when we faced a similar situation, again our reactions may be the same. When we understand those experiences, we can come that much closer to understanding our reactions and consciously change them. Between stimulus and reaction exists a fleeting moment of thought. Often, that thought is based on something that has happened to you in the past. When presented with a similar situation later on, your natural impulse is to unconsciously regard it in a similar light. Modifying your reaction by modifying your thoughts is difficult, but it can help you to see and experience formerly unpleasant situations in a whole new light. It allows you to stop reacting unconsciously. Learning the reason for your reactions may also help you put aside a negative reaction long enough to respond in more positive and empowered ways. Your reactions and responses then become about what's happening in the present moment rather than about the past. As time passes, your negative thoughts may lose strength, leaving only your positive thoughts to inform your healthy reactions.
Interesting eye-opener. Yeah, it's so true that what happens to us in the past or past experiences affect our reactions and our responses in the present. In fact, I would even venture to say that a lot of us our present are made up of past experiences, past traumas, past hurts, even past moments of joy and happiness. I think the key here, though, is to find ways to live in the present, find ways to live in the moment. And I do that by asking myself one simple question: what does this moment require of me? And when I'm able to answer that question, I'm able to put myself in the present and give that reaction or give that response or give that action that is needed.
Yeah, I really love this line from the eye-opener. It says, learning the reason for your reactions may also help you put aside a negative reaction long enough to respond in more positive and empowered ways. And I think this perfectly complements what you were saying, Paul, where a lot of our experiences from the past do influence the present. And I think recognizing or trying to find out what that past experience was and how it affects the present, understanding what that was will allow you to, if it affects you in a negative way, learn how to turn that around to a positive. And of course, how that affects the present also affects the future. So it also shapes and impacts what takes place in the future.
Something as simple as doing the dishes, for example. When the dishes were there to be done, before, there was a time in my life and in my adult life when I used to get a bit angrier, antsy about doing the dishes, or irritated.
You don't like dishes?
Well, I kind of did some self-introspection to figure out, Paul, it's just
What's
dishes.
the problem, Paul?
What's the problem? And then I remember growing up, I used to be disciplined or almost forced. And it's not like forced labor, like my mom wasn't a type of cruel person or anything like that.
Like child labor?
Yeah, but I used to hate doing the dishes, and I used to be scolded. Sometimes I would be whipped for doing the dishes. And so it's just because it was one of those things as a teenager. You would rather do anything else, like rather play the game or go out and be with friends than doing the dishes. So when it was time to do the dishes as an adult, because no, mommy won't do the dishes anymore, or your brother or sister is not there,
no one's
for
there
you to say it's your turn, I used to question, all right, and then I went back and I realized it was just one of those rebellious phases in my life that kind of created that reaction to doing the dishes. And as soon as I figured that out and I laid that aside, it became I recreated how I viewed doing the dishes. And it sounds so simple, but it's something. If you're living with a partner and something they do may irritate you, but it's not that big.
Yes.
It's like, why is it that I'm reacting this way? And oftentimes you could find a trigger
Yep.
from somewhere in your past.
That's so funny that you were saying that, because I saw a video last night that spoke directly to that. But I was trying to think of what would be my situation, of course, to compare to yours. I think mine is, Paul, if there's one thing I would avoid, it's to cut up chicken.
Oh, I just cut up some chicken last night.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But it's because I used to do that a lot in my
There you
teenage years.
go.
I hated it.
Yeah.
But you know how I deal with that now? I just buy chicken cuts. I buy it already cut.
Still have to clean it though.
I know, but I hated it. I so hated it.
There you go.
But yeah, that's an interesting eye-opener. Not having those situations in the past control how your present is, and of course your future as a result as well. If it's affecting you negatively, search in the past and find out what that thing was, and find a way to shift it to a positive.
Yeah.
But moving now into our show lineup this morning, we have 3 great conversations for you. Starting things off, we'll be talking about ways to tackle violence. And I'm really looking forward to our guests that we will be having on the show. We will be having the chairperson and director of the Leadership Intervention Unit, Dominique Norales, who will be talking to us about plans on tackling gang violence.
In our second conversation, it's all about Image Factory Art Foundation and their new exhibit that's coming up in a few. It's called Impact, and we will be joined by a few artists from the Image Factory Art Foundation to talk to us about what this new exhibit will be all about.
And in our final conversation, we will be talking about World Customs Day. Harmonizing borders, fostering a sustainable and inclusive global trade environment is the theme for this year's World Customs Day. So we will be having someone on set with us to talk about that. But Paul, I am looking forward to each and every one of the conversations this morning. So we will be taking our first break this morning. And when we come back, the conversation is all about tackling gang violence in Belize. Stay with us.
Hello eCash user, the eCash app is now available in Spanish. Changing the language in your eCash app from English to Spanish is quick and easy. Let me walk you through the steps. First, open your eCash app. Enter your PIN. Tap the More icon at the bottom of your screen. Choose Security. Select Language. Tap on Spanish. Then re-enter your PIN. And that's it! Your eCash app is now in Spanish, and you can continue to enjoy your eCash digital wallet. Belize Bank's eCash app makes life easier.
Apply now for an undergraduate degree in animation, film or journalism at the Caribbean School of Media and Communication at the University of the West Indies, Mona. For more information, visit www.mona.uwi.edu/apply.
V-Bucks and get a chance to win a $10,000 homecation with Benny's. Quality and savings.
If we all don't come together and work together to change the bigger climate picture, these efforts will be in vain.
It's right there.
I believe that we have something special that is also a secret right now, which is unexplored, undiscovered.
I've been with the sugar fishermen all morning, catching lobster and crump. And then we realized it's time for lunch. And man, it's gonna be good. I think they deserve it.
Do you have information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
Welcome back. We are having our first conversation for the morning, and it's all about tackling gang violence in Belize. And we have with us Dominique Morales. She is the chairperson and director of the Leadership Intervention Unit. We know it as the LIU. Dominique, good morning and welcome. What a pleasure having you here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. I remember working with Dominique at Department of Youth Services, so this is my first time having a formal discussion with her now as director of LIU.
Isn't it interesting that we are among peers, a peer, a friend, someone we grew up with, been growing up with, we've seen develop into this outstanding citizen that she is at this point, to transition from that where you said at the Department of Youth Services to now being here. So congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
To you, Dominique.
This is also your first time here on set with us in this capacity.
Yes.
So this is a special moment, I think.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
All right. Well, the conversation, of course, is all about plans through the LIU to tackle gang violence in Belize. I think I want to start off, though, by asking you how it's going as a chairperson.
Well, it's going. It's been a learning experience for sure. Baptism by fire for sure. But I think I have my minister and my CEO are quite supportive, and so I have them to lean on when things get a bit rough. And I often tell my minister that I need a bit of therapy today. Can you take a phone call? So he's been very, very supportive. The team at the LIU, which has a complement of about 9 police officers, including a member of the Belize Defense Force, super supportive with running the programs as we expand our staff so they can deal more with just the conflict tracing and mediation, other supporters from the Office of the Commissioner, the person who coordinates our sports programs, the Sprite and Peace Cup, Mr. Douglas Hyde, of course, great partnership from the Department of Youth Services. In fact, my office is stationed in their building. Mr. Andrew Dawson has been a super supportive pillar of strength and just a good friend and colleague. And then of course all of our community members who have been really supportive and constantly reassuring and making sure that I know that I have their support now. So it's been rough as a young public servant who happens to be female, who happens to be black. It's been rough sometimes, but you know, we navigate those things, and we have bad days and we have good ones, and we give thanks for those days that are a bit better, that keep us going, that keep us inspired.
What was your initial reaction to the thought or the proposal of you taking up such a position?
Well, the proposal came to me in the thick of exam season. It was my final semester at university, and so I would have told the minister that, hey, just give me a bit of time to think about it. I ran it by some mentors so I don't make life decisions without. Some people were concerned, not because of they feel like I had lack capacity, just they understand that the space is a complex one, right?
Yeah.
And there are some experiences that you gain from life and some that you learn by that baptism by fire that I spoke about earlier. So they were concerned, but always supportive. I was honored to be asked. I think it was quite huge shoes to fill.
Yeah, I was going to
William
touch on
Dawson
that.
was a superhero, really. And so, and I had the pleasure of meeting him once or twice. In fact, our last interaction, he was quite very, very kind to me and offered great support and great advice as a young person, especially coming from the background that we both come from, right? Southside Belize City Youth, Martin's Youth, that kind of thing. So I think I was excited, but very conscious of the challenges that would be ahead. Some of them I couldn't have anticipated, if I'm honest, but we get through all of them same way.
As you rightly mentioned, you are a product of Belize City. You've come a long way. You've done a lot for yourself, and I'm gathering that you've had a lot of support. There's been a team of people throughout the years that have really helped to keep you grounded. How has your experiences growing up in Belize City kind of prepared you for this current role that you are in right now? I would imagine that not all those experiences were a bed of roses.
Oh, for sure. I think it gives me an immense amount of perspective and an immense amount of empathy, because you can't do this job without understanding very, very keenly what those challenges look like, what the challenges of poverty are, what the challenges of crime and violence, both as victim and perpetrator. And you have to have some sort of trust, and people have to see you as relatable. And so I think coming from my background, it really gave me this essence to do this job and have the wherewithal, which I can tell you I need every single day. There is never a day. I often tell the assistant superintendent that is assigned to the LIU, ASP O'Brien, that every day we're firefighting, right? If there's not administrative things to do, there's more programmatic things to do, and everyone has access to me, right? I can't say, well, I don't feel like talking to nobody today. Some days I have to set my boundaries and stuff, but everybody has access to me, and I have to listen to everyone's challenges and hear them out and try to ensure that I fix as much as I can within my power and assist. Even sometimes when some people come to me with challenges that aren't mine, but I have to assist in the ways that I can, and it's easier because they're my people.
Yeah.
And so I can't shun them.
You know, you're in quite a unique space, Dominique, and there's so many things that I want to touch on, but I want to take a step back first to go into the shoes that you are now filling, as you put it. William Dawson, who, as you mentioned, was seen as a superhero to a lot of the persons that he worked with. I also met him several times through Department of Youth Services and also here on set. I want to ask you what your experience is like now in his shoes, not only as a leader in your capacity, but also taking on the mantle that he once had in the community. How are you received as a new face in this role? But is there a difference with you being a woman and a young woman?
Oh, well, definitely. Sabrina, I think first I have to say that I have been welcomed with open arms. Some people are a bit skeptical because maybe I too refined or
Especially with the population that, you know,
right.
you
So
work
some
with.
people are a bit skittish, but for the most part, I think I received, for the most part, utmost respect from both the participants in our programs, but also my colleagues for the most part. And like I said, like I can never, ever, ever be William Dawson. I think even if he were to advise me now, he would want me to make the role my own. And so that's what I aim to do, make the role my own. We have different skill sets, different strengths. I can tell you that my favorite days are the ones where I'm in community and not in an office writing a million things, which I have to do because that is my role is also administrative. But the favorite days I have is when I have meetings with stakeholders and with our community members. Just sit down in somebody's yard and talk to them, do a little walk through the community. And I quite enjoy the ones where it doesn't seem performative. So sometimes when the media show up, it get a bit weird. Because the conversations that people have with you become
less authentic.
More
fabricated. Exactly. And so I quite enjoy the days where we do those walkthroughs that are organic and that, okay, well, and I could tell you when we have issues with some of our participants, when they have challenges or concerns, you jump in the car, we go talk to them directly. And even in mediation, sitting in mediations, while I don't lead mediations because that is not my skill set, I sit in them because they offer me great perspective as to how to frame programming and the considerations that we have to have and the tweaks that have to be made. Because like I told the gentleman that we do the football with at the launch of the William Dawson Peace Cup, we could plan forever and a day. But if you don't participate and if we don't listen to your challenges and how we could fix things, our work becomes a little less valuable.
I'm interested in hearing your perspective on what's happening on the ground with crime and violence in Belize City. You grew up in Belize City, so you have that experiential perspective or knowledge. And then on the other hand, you're in this role where you're working hands-on to, and I won't say like solve, but to kind of help address and mitigate some of these issues that these communities, these marginalized communities face. What's your perspective now that you're working hands-on in terms of perhaps the causes or just in general, your thoughts on what's taking place on the ground right now?
Well, I mean, as a social scientist, what I can tell you is that Belize City people are inherently violent, no matter what nobody tell you, right? We are set up for ourselves, we are a bit more passionate and outspoken, but we're not inherently violent. The issues that we face as it relates to crime and violence is an offshoot of socioeconomic issues. People who have grown up in a Belize City space that is a consequence of colonization that sprawled out and did not create space for people to have the things that they need, the safe third places, your parks. Some communities in Belize City don't have no parks. And then movement becomes more difficult for young people, young and old, because of gang territory and gang feuds and the imagined communities that we create as it relates to gang and gun violence. And so the issues are socioeconomic, point blank. Like, there's incredible inequity as it relates to the distribution of wealth. And so people's access to wealth is completely different. For example, I am a young professional. This is my first real job, right? My experience as it relates to the way I navigate the world is quite different from other peers who would have not grown up poor. Even though we probably make the same amount of money now, very different, because I can't go to the bank and have a guarantor because none of my family have that kind of money for being my guarantor.
Assets,
So I could only imagine people who have not had the opportunities that I have had, how difficult it is to navigate the world. Going to school is a challenge because there are hidden costs to education, which I have to say the Ministry of Education within the GEM School program has been trying to address. I think it's a wonderful program. But there are things that we simply don't account for, can't account for. Or I wouldn't say can't. There's just simple things that we haven't been doing our best, and that leaves some people marginalized, and that makes it easier to be grappled up and made more vulnerable by the things that are seemingly easier to get, but has very, very long-term effects on your psychology, on your sociology, on your economics, because you then become caught up in a rat wheel of crime and violence and all the things you need to do to survive. It's a question of survivability, and some people make the decision that, hey, I need to survive, my people need to eat, my people need to go to school, and this is what I will do. Our programming aims to try to give people, I want the marker of my tenure to be that I've had people see outside of the world that they live in. I have been, oh my goodness, extremely just blessed beyond measure. I have gotten to see places well outside of my community. That alone, these experiences alone has enabled me to dream beyond borders. And that is what I want for the young men and young women that we come in contact with. Dream beyond borders and give you not only the skill sets, but open those doors for you. Mentorship and sponsorship are two different things. I just told some young people from Wesley this. Mentorship gives you the skills, right? Mentorship gives you the ability to have a conversation. It gives you the knowledge you need to hold a conversation. But sponsorship gives you the space, gives you the opportunity, and that's what I want a marker of my tenure to be.
It's the difference between talking and putting your money where your mouth is.
Precisely.
I want to first summarize just a bit of what you were saying, because you said quite a lot of gems. One, that gang violence is not something that is inherited or innately a part of us. It is the result of colonization and our social economic situation. And because of that, we are resulting in violent young people. We are resulting in survival from these communities. I want to play devil's advocate here, and I'm only doing so because I know that there are different perspectives that people have. You and I both know, Dominique, that we came from youth development. That was where we worked in, so we were able to gather different perspectives and hear from young people themselves. What is your response to persons that are saying, or that would say, well, you know, just like you, Dominique, there are young people that were given similar opportunities and didn't take it. So a lot of these situations that result in gang formation and violence is a choice. What do you say to that person?
Several things that I want to say. One, I not believe in the bootstrap philosophy. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps when my boots bust up from the jump, right? Like, you can't expect people to do well with very little. Those people who are offered opportunities, and really, I want to go back to that bootstrap thing, because people think you get the same opportunities, you know. They believe that you get the same opportunities. When somebody have what real clocks or fake clocks, are two different clocks, baby, because 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, your fake clocks are bust up. It may look like we get the same thing, we didn't. And so I think we have to keep that in mind. As it relates to people getting opportunities, and I know there's a perspective that, oh, well, we just pay gang members, and they should have just, and this is a very problematic view, and I've heard it in several spaces when they go to shop, and when, I like the Lee Hole in the Wall bar, I have to say, so I listen to the perspectives a lot, where people say, oh, well, when they just kill out each other, baby, if that if that be the perspective, the issue may have done from the 90s, right? If they may have killed out, they may have done from the 90s. That is such a problematic view, because then you reduce people outside of their humanity. You take away their dignity because, oh, well, you know what, the society said for those, so, but you forget.
And it's also a cycle. Why do we believe that there's only one set? Like, no, there are generations.
Exactly, and generations of not only people who have been have more affinity to criminality, but also, and not affinity, that's a wrong word to use, who have a greater vulnerability to criminal life. There's also layered in that extreme trauma. Extreme trauma. I meet young men and young women every day who, like, I sat in a mediation and one, and I said, well, I'm going to live fair, no, miss. And I had to mention that, you know, your boss there who live beyond 30, that were exception to the rule, my love. Because if you continue upon this route, very many of your peers don't go beyond 30, if that much. One of my closest friends was 21 when he was killed. And so, like, it's a constant reaffirming and reminding even myself that, hey, like, this kind of work is necessary. No matter how, like, there's no value that you can put on human life.
How much, not to cut you short, but how much emphasis is placed on mental health support through the LIU? And I ask because you touched on trauma. And I'm thinking a lot of these young men and women have seen loved ones lose their lives as a result of gun violence. You're talking about poverty in the home, where it's a struggle many times to get a meal on the table. A lot of times you have physical abuse in these homes, emotional abuse, even sexual abuse exists within these homes many times. And I'm not saying specific to marginalized communities,
of course,
because it happens
everywhere.
But it's compounded by many other issues as well. Lack of employment at times, lack of education, and so all of these are compounded. And I could see how someone could be pushed to the edge to say, you know what, miss, I really not have nothing to live for. So how do we, through the LIU, if any at all, seek to bridge these mental health issues?
Well, there are two sides to that coin. One, as you would have heard the minister mention at the last ComStat meeting, is that there will be a lot of priority placed on the welfare and well-being of police officers in the coming year. So that's one thing that the officers that are attached to LIU, that is super important to me, because I see the amount of pressure, because I in some ways still have it very easy. I work 8 to 5, 8 to 4. I could go to the gym. I could go slam once I try against a truck. I could do all of that. I could do all of that to deal with my stress. Some of my officers don't have that opportunity, and so we're trying to focus on the well-being of officers. That's one, because you cannot give an empty cup. Two, when it comes to the participants and beneficiaries in our program, the fiscal year is going to end and does start soon. And so a huge part of my budget deals with a lot with well-being. One of the things I want to do is focus on a reintegration program, and we're still meeting with our partners across ministry and across government and non-governmental space to ensure that we have some sort of reintegration. So for young people who may have come in contact with the law, so they have something to lean on, mental health support that is not only in theory but also in practice. And it takes a huge amount of personal responsibility on their part as well. You have to want the help, but I think in many ways the cry for help, it looks and sounds different, and so it takes us and our officers to kind of coax them into that sort of thing. But mental health for me, because of that positive youth development background, is super important as we frame our programming for the next year.
You know, I'm here thinking that we had a record great year as it relates to quelling violence and murders in Belize last year. Are there any lessons that you were able to gather from last year, challenges that you now know you are working towards and overcoming to have an even better year this year as it relates to reducing violence and deaths in Belize?
Well, definitely, I want to ensure that we monitor our programs a bit better, get to know our participants a bit better, because I find that, you know, I talk to people who have been doing this type of work for a very long time, and they say, oh, well, I know that one the pan, I know that one the grandpa, but we don't know enough about these families, and it's not a very large group of people, you know, like we think that it's not. And so if we are able to know these families and know their needs and be able to, if we can't provide them as LIU, direct them to the spaces that they go to, because the essence of the LIU is that we are a budding area of partnerships. And so what LIU cannot give in our programming, then we direct our participants elsewhere. And so that's why these constant partnership meetings are super important, these stakeholder meetings. I haven't met fully with the persons who would have imagined the first iteration of LIU, because my first 6 months has been a lot of getting to know the nitty-gritty of my job. But now, as we move forward, I know Mr. Dawson met with the CRD recently. I meet at the NCFC today, and now my CEO has ensured that we are, as heads of department and heads of unit, meet quite often. And so they are able to offer perspectives from their expertise, but also I'm able to bounce ideas off of them. And so that's how we plan to kind of enhance and really mitigate any of the challenges that we have administratively. Because if I can't do my job administratively, then my programs suffer. And I think that has been, I think, one of our areas that we have to grow in.
Do you believe that you offer a fresh perspective as a young person as well?
I think so. I mean, other people have to tell me that because I really can't really see. But I think doing this job takes an immense amount of courage. And the ability to tell people when, hey, I don't think what you say make a lot of sense. And as a young person, that's probably easier to do because I probably don't upstart.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's easier. I just think it's your personality. Because when you get in these spaces with seasoned professionals, especially public service workers, and you're a young person in a leadership position, I'd imagine managing a lot of people older than yourself. It's not easy to say, hey, look, I know I don't have the years of experience that you have.
Sorry, I had to stammer now. Because I get so passionate about this because one of the things that really not upsets me, maybe upset is the right word then, is when people come to me and say, oh, I know you're young, but da 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 da. No, that don't have nothing to do with my competence. And I am always willing to learn, don't get me wrong. Like I'm always willing to listen, even when people holler at me a whole bunch of things that we have to deal with, because I think as a consequence of both age and gender. But my age has been, I think, one of my huge challenges, but also gifts. I try not mention it a lot because I don't want to become my spiel, my thing, right?
Yeah.
But my age, I know a secret. Some people don't know, and I try to capitalize on that. But I think the age has been really, like, being a young person in a leadership position, the amount of practice that I have had could not possibly prepare me. I have had a lot of practice, Sabrina, you know, but it couldn't have not prepared me for life as a young public servant in a very high leadership position. It could not have prepared me.
A couple questions, Dominique. How many participants are in the LIU program currently?
In our work program, which is our community beautification program that we do in collaboration with our implementing partner, the Belize City Council, has just about 250 participants. It wanes because, of course, well, there are sanctions for people who participate in things. Of course, you have to have that kind of system set up. But between 250 and 260, that is what we deal with. And that's a captured audience. So our TOBAL training program, which happens, it is from that same population that goes to the skills training across some various disciplines: cosmetology, electric, AC and refrigeration, catering and hospitality. That is the same captured audience. As it relates to now our sporting programs, that's a bit wider because there are some people who participate that are not necessarily members of our programming.
So the question I have, and that's a good number, is why LIU? Why have such an institution or a body established? Why not take the hard-handed approach that we've seen other countries take, some neighboring countries, to rid themselves of gang violence and turf war? Even more so when we continue to hear reports that some community personalities that are a part of the LIU program here and there, you'd still hear reports of this one being caught with an unlicensed firearm, this one being involved in some sort of aggravated assault, or another individual being booked for a robbery or some sort of burglary. You still hear cases like this, and the critics would laugh and say, you see, it's not working. We need a heavy-handed approach like El Salvador, for example, and do away with this LIU soft-handed approach initiative.
I wouldn't call. Okay. Maduro does not work. I don't believe in Maduro for philosophical, theoretical, and practical reasons. Maduro creates more problems. Maduro is a band-aid. The reason why LIU is necessary is because it takes into account very specific experiences of people from a very specific geographic area who have had very specific historical experiences. LIU, like I mentioned earlier, is also based on partnership. Obviously, there are some people who would say, hey, well, why not just give more money to human development, or give more money to the police, or give more money to this one, give more money to the Department of Youth. But LIU takes into account very specific experiences of an issue that is of national importance. Because the only reason why we get the budget we do is because the government believes that it is an issue of national importance. Now, behavior change takes time. This, as there is generational trauma, this is generational work. So while you might every so often hear 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of my participants, that's only 260 other name. And I can't make everybody suffer for one person's ability to, or one person's struggle with keeping up and changing mindsets and changing behavior.
Yeah.
So when the critics say, oh, well, you see this thing not work, it's generational work. And I don't want to be problematic on the set. But if we look at our political structure, there are people who have made very many mistakes for decades and decades, and we still go vote them back. I'm also a political scientist, so please allow me.
Yeah, go right ahead.
We can't just dismiss people because of an issue that a system has created, and I'm not just talking about government administrations, I'm talking about a systematic problem that has forgotten that some people exist, and know that those people are trying to survive in a way that society deems as deviant. Then we just say, well, get rid of the exterminate, they're not animals, and even animals are not treated so. So when people call to me that kind of way about my people, I grew up with their people, they're me other day.
Yeah.
I feel a way, and I also have to use whatever prowess I now have to articulate the reasons why the millions of dollars that we spend on this is quite, because there are some great stories, like Shadrick Lord for me is a fantastic athlete. These are the stories that I think we need to tell, and probably we need to do a better job as well at the public relation and telling the stories. And that is something that we're working on. So I need people to understand that this is not a waste of time. There are people life, like people, the mediations that we have. I was talking on another morning show. The difference between someone living and someone dying, that usually one misunderstanding that can be fixed with a conversation. Some are people not as emotionally regulated as most of us, and so the only way they know how to defend themselves and the only way they have access to a sort of power that through violence. That, my love, takes a whole lot of thinking and a whole lot of doing to change that perspective. And so the work is necessary, Paul.
This is such a rich conversation. I wish we had more time. We could go on and on, Dominique. But I want to say thank you, of course, for stopping by. I know that you are a busy woman. So all the best in your work as chairperson and director of the LIU. We're hoping to have you back here on set to further have this conversation as the year progresses.
And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's my first time back in. I used to be able to say all the time. I used to say, man, I need to stop.
No, we want to have you here more.
Start again.
Yeah, I have to start again. So it's good to be back, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
I love how comfortable you are in speaking, and especially about this topic that you are so passionate about. So kudos to you and your hardworking team over there at the LIU.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, the conversation is about the Image Factory Art Foundation impact. Stay with us.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
If we all don't come together and work together to change the bigger climate picture, these efforts will be in vain.
It's right there.
I believe that we have something special that is also a secret right now, which is unexplored, undiscovered.
I've been with the sugar fishermen all morning, catching lobster and conch, and then we realized it's time for lunch. And man, it's gonna be good. I think they deserve it.
These will offer you coping mechanisms when dealing with violent situations.
That is a very simple phone number that you can store in case of any emergencies.
Violence exists in the form of corrective rape.
Welcome Marines as the totally new HD member.
We realize that success in agriculture isn't just about land and access to finance. We realize that we have members who have issues of domestic abuse, who have issues of child sexual abuse in their families. We've noted that the barriers and the obstacles are quite different for women and girls than for men. And this is why we decided to take a holistic approach.
Violence against women and girls is an issue for me because I think it is used as measures of control and it is a reinforcement of negative power dynamics. All people, especially women who have been experiencing discrimination and injustice for quite some time, deserve to be afforded physical, emotional, financial, and mental stability and safety.
There are a lot of persons who don't understand the dynamics, of violence against women and girls. And so there's always need for advocacy and education to keep the awareness.
Economic empowerment, that's what we've been focused on day one. We've focused on creating opportunities, economic opportunities for women to establish themselves as independent business owners. On top of that, we've also created and ensured that we create male allies in their families, whether it's their husbands, their partners, and so forth, to understand the rights of women and to also understand and upskill themselves as supportive partners of these women and girls.
We need to educate young men and women within our society today, engage them in a one-on-one interaction, educating them about the different types of domestic violence that we have within our society, and teaching them how ending violence against women and girls can help within our future generation in preserving the future for women.
I believe it's important for persons to be aware of the positive enforcement and policy shifts in that of legislation, because this is what brings about change. This is what brings about the change in people's mindsets, and knowing that there are legislation, there are enactments of bills that advances the rights of women and girls.
Everyone has a part to play. If we see or hear something, we shall say or do something.
We have to stand up and make the changes ourselves to set the example for everyone else.
I will continue to play my part by advocating to end violence against women and girls.
We all need to make sure that we help to fight to eliminate violence against women and girls in our society.
What grows together, goes together. Let's stand in solidarity to fight violence against women and girls.
Everyone has a part to play.
Everyone has a part to play
in ending violence against women and girls.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced full high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
Art is one of the more purest forms of expression, and so in with us for a second segment we have Adriani Smith, who is an artist and social media coordinator of Belize at Belize Collection, and Kirkland Smith, who is an art educator, and they're both here to speak with us about the Impact exhibition, a new exhibition that will be on display at the Image Factory Art Foundation on January 26th. Good morning. To both of you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. Let's jump right into the conversation to talk a bit about the Impact exhibition and the idea behind it.
Okay, so I turned 28 this January, and so I've always wanted to do a birthday exhibition, you know, something to celebrate my life and how far I've came. I was searching for themes and thinking about, you know, what would be impactful. And one of the things that has driven me the most in the art community is trying to create an actual art community. Mm-hmm. So ever since I was at SJC, and even before that, I went to Mr. Smith's art classes in the evening after high school. And that is just something, and the type of teacher he is, just driving that spark in me. And so I was like, you know what, instead of me doing an exhibition for just myself and my work, let me incorporate people or artists around me that have made an impact on me and have given me that, you know, drive to continue. I've never looked at other artists as competition, because I believe that we all have our own niches and we have our own style. So there is opportunity for everyone, and so why not share that opportunity? And so I decided on Impact, and it would not be possible without the support of Mr. Smith's school that he has, Kirkland Smith School for Art, and without the Image Factory Foundation.
Yeah.
I also have a sponsor from Century 21, which again, it would not be possible without them. So the whole idea with it was to incorporate a different artists. We have younger artists from the age of 8 and up, and one of the artists that I'm so proud that joined in this exhibition was Carolyn Carr, because I remember when I was younger, my mom had a print of one of her paintings, and I'd always look at it and be like, you know, I wonder if I could do that one day. And so here we are, and I'm honored to be in a room filled with such talented artists.
What form of art do you do?
I'm a fine artist, so I paint mainly. I do drawings, but it's not my strong suit. I prefer painting on canvas, so it's acrylic on canvas for me.
And how long have you been doing art professionally now?
About, I'd say maybe 10 years, right?
Oh,
About
wow.
10 years. Yeah.
What got you into art?
Art, again, just seeing different pieces around me. I had a book that I read one day in high school, and it was, you know, high school is a tough time for you. And I always wanted to put faces to these characters, and I just started drawing. And my mom's like, you know what, I heard about this man. He works at SJC. Maybe we could give him a try, and maybe you could get into art. So my mom, being my biggest supporter, she really pushed me with that, and she never let me stop. She always got me whatever materials I needed. I always made sure I go to class with Mr. Smith, and so now we're here.
So, Adriana, your mom heard about this man that could help you refine your skills. And that man so happened to be Kirkland Smith. He is an artist on his own, but also an art educator, and he has a school called Kirkland Smith
School of Visual Arts.
School of Visual Arts. Kirkland, let's first talk about your experience as an artist, and then we can transition into you as an art educator.
That's a very tough question and might have a whole year of response.
We'll have time, we'll have the year.
Like for me, my experience in art started from a young age, just like Adriana, seeing and being influenced by other artists and the works that they have been doing. In fact, one of the artists that she has invited, Terrell Godoy, was actually an artist who impacted me as a child, because I used to see him setting up on the street side, Central American Boulevard, painting different scenes. And I will go there and watch him. I'll be amazed at what he's doing. So, and I remember one time after school when I was looking at his work, I took my drawing book to him and be like, hey, I can draw too. Tell me what you think about it. And he was quite encouraging. And the encouragement and the support that can be provided for the younger generation to help them. Students like Adriana, who is now a fellow artist, you know, and a fellow collaborator who we work with at times. Her ideas can be out of this world, but that is what we need in the art community. We need fresh ideas, we need new ideas, we need the younger generation to be a part of what the older generation has been doing. And sometimes that experience is not really merge, because sometimes the older generation is reluctant to bring the younger generation into the community. And that is what I noticed when I was younger. I'd be like, you know what? We need to reach out to the younger generation. We need to have them participate more in art. Because when they grow up and they become adults like Adriana, they are the ones who will encourage their children. And now I see it a lot more than when I first started doing art. Right? The students I have impacted over the years, they become parents, and they're the ones who will come to me and say, sir, I have a child, a son or daughter, who loves doing art, and I want to foster that. And that's something that is, I think, is very, very impactful for me, because I see, the investment and the time you took to put into that work. You see the reality now.
That must be quite an interesting experience, teaching generations, I guess you could say, because as you mentioned, you have been a teacher for someone and then turned around and became teacher for their child as well. For you as an artist, knowing that you're able to impart your knowledge and foster these young visual artists, does it feel rewarding knowing that you are able to kind of mold them into what they desire to become?
It's very rewarding, and when I'm teaching their kids, then I realize how old I am. And then now I'm starting to think about, you know what? I might be reaching retirement age in the next 10 years or so. I need to start to think about who will be the one to carry on the work. I can't do this forever, right? And I don't want to do it forever. So people like Adriana, people like the different students I'm teaching, I look at what they're doing. Even when they're doing art, I always tell them, not because you're doing art, it means that you have to grow old and become an artist. Right? Art is something that you can use as a means for self-expression, also a means for self-wealth and self-growth and wellness. But if it happens that you become an artist, a professional artist like Adriana, because she not only paints, but she's a graphic artist, and she's a very good graphic artist. So, and being flexible in those different areas is important, and I think it's very impactful for me when I see my students become parents, and then I'm teaching their children. I mean, that's a wonderful experience.
What's the most fulfilling part of being an art educator for you?
An art educator, well, one of the things that have been driving me as an art educator is to see art being more accepted by society. Because when I first started teaching art 25 years ago, the response from society, from parents, was not as, I don't have a better word than saying wasn't as big as it is today. We see a lot more people involved in art, and I think the pandemic a couple of years ago really drove that, and realized that there's a greater need in our country for the arts.
You know, I want to piggyback on that question that Paul asked, because I think not only in Belize, art has always been kind of like, you know, it's nice, but you can't really have a career out of it. Also in the world, it is seen as that, because there's a small population of people that really, quote unquote, make it, you know? And I imagine it would really depend on what your goals are. If you want to, as you mentioned, sell this type of work, if you want to have wealth out of it, or if it's something for yourself, if it's an experience or a means of expression. In Belize here, as artists yourself, what do you observe the landscape of artists being like? Is it something that we do for wealth, or is it just a means of expression? Sharing a message, as you know, a lot of artists, they try to tell stories, or they try to create a movement, if that's what you want to call it. Is it something that we want to create wealth out of it? Are we maybe just not there yet? Or do we just like sharing a message?
Well, I believe that we're not necessarily there yet, but we're on that way. And I say that because we have a lot of artists that do art for like tourism, so they'll sell small pieces, and that makes money for right now. But again, you can't sell that realistically for much. And so I had an artist that said the minute he stopped selling pieces for other people and he started selling them for him is when he saw the money actually come in. You know, when he invested his time and his craft, and he worked on himself so that he could be satisfied, not so that the viewer can be satisfied. And that is when his art really picked up. So hopefully more artists are starting to do that. And it's, for me, it's always about the message. And because if you're, the thing with commission pieces, when someone comes to you and asks you for something specific, they might not get that exact, you know, request that they asked for. And that is because you are not putting your passion into it, because you're just replicating something. So,
and you, Kirkland?
I totally agree with Adriana. And the artist is produce art for first self-expression, right? And some artists produce it to send a message, whether it's a social issue, political issue. And what I've realized over the years is that for us to create an art community where every artist can benefit from their works, is that we need to create a network. A network where they have access to good materials, they have access to support, they have access to whether it's different websites or social media where they can promote themselves, promote their art. And we support each other. So when we have an art show, different artists, we support each other. Right? We buy from each other. We invite people who we know love art, would want to purchase art. So we need to create a network, because as an artist, no one is an island. And in the past, I've noticed a lot of artists work as if though they are an island, and they are afraid to share their knowledge. They are afraid to pass on what they know to others because they feel like it's for themselves. But I believe that art is for everyone. Everyone can benefit.
As an art consumer, one of my pet peeves is always hearing people, and this is just me, hearing people ask artists how much that costs. Because just somebody who appreciates art, I often say that that's an invaluable piece. Oftentimes, what goes into, as I understand it, bringing that piece to life is more than just brush and paint. But there's so much creativity, there's so much passion, so much of that individual in those pieces that you can't really put a price on many pieces, of many art pieces, and especially when it's so well done, you put your heart and yourself into it that you could look at it and there's so many interpretations to it. There's so many things that you could see that perhaps somebody else can't see, or that they could see that you can't see. And these pieces are conversational pieces. You have them in your home and they're so beautiful. I mean, there's so much that you can't get out of it, that I also don't like when somebody try to beat down an artist for a price, to say, oh, you can't do half of that because this isn't that, right?
Or say it's too expensive.
Right, and that's just my that's just my
pet peeve.
30 seconds art rant, right? But going back to the exhibition, let's talk a bit about what are some of the pieces that can be expected, or what those who attend can expect when they arrive at the exhibit.
Okay, so
Adriana, maybe you should explain the idea behind the exhibition,
Okay, so
because this is unique. This is a different type
Okay.
of exhibition.
There you go.
Well, I'd just like to start off by saying this is about my 5th exhibition I've done. The last one being with Niche. I did Little Women in Art. So that was for girls under 18. I like, whenever I do an exhibition, to do something different. And so each exhibition is different. It's not like the same one, you know, or like the past one. Impact, again, because I want it to be something that people can go and take away from. So the idea is at 7, we open the doors for the exhibition. The exhibition in itself is an interactive exhibition. So there will be a piece there that the audience can come and they can draw and they can paint on, and they can create something together.
Wow.
And again, it's inclusive, so we have from 8 and up. And we have a special part of the exhibition, which is the sip and paint part of it. So the sip and paint part, we are having it at the back if the weather holds up. We're having it at the back. If you've ever been to Image Factory, you know the scenery. It's beautiful with the boats. So we're sitting behind there, and what we're doing is we're painting with the inspiration of the pieces inside. So we're not necessarily replicating these pieces, but you know, we're just getting inspired by them, and you're putting that on your own canvas. And when you're done with the sip and paint, you're hanging it up in the actual exhibition.
Wow.
So you are going to be a part of the exhibition.
Interesting.
I love
So
that.
what sort of experience in painting or art do you have to be a part of this?
None.
No?
It's open to anybody that would like to, you know, come and test their art skills, or if they would like to learn. What I'm hoping I can get completed by Friday is some, you know, little tips for each artist so that they can take home. So if you went to the sip and paint and you enjoyed it, you know, you could always pick up your canvas and stuff from wherever Mr. Smith sells art supplies, and you can always become an artist at home. It's really easy to do art.
How much does it cost to be a part of the sip and paint, or to just come to the exhibition?
The exhibition is free. The sip and paint, we have a fee of $45 per person, and that's just because it's a limited amount, and we want to make sure that, you know, who really wants it, we can accommodate them.
And that includes the wine.
Yes.
Do you bring
snack and the wine, snack, and your
utensils?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't need to bring anything.
No.
All right.
Just pay and show up.
Well, it sounds like I might be there. I know I have a little niece that loves that.
One last question on the exhibit: are what types of art, what forms of art will be on display?
Okay, so I think for the most part, it's mainly like realism. Right, is there
Some abstract pieces.
Okay, some abstract pieces, yeah.
Mostly paintings.
Paintings. For me, I personally like to do animals. And I go more towards the realism style. However, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
so in between for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm hoping that you get a great turnout for the exhibition.
Thank you.
I know that a lot of people really enjoy sipping and painting. So I have no doubt that you're going to get your spaces filled for that.
Yeah.
All right. So if persons would like to reach out to you.
Yes, they can contact me at 613-5491. Just send me a message and then I can give you more information from there.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. All the best.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to take another break, and when we come back, the conversation is about World Customs Day. Stay with us.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, pay $28.13 more and get the Binge Watchers Bundle with Netflix. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
Let's take a journey through the core functions of the Social Security Board. It all starts with registering as an insured person, employer, or self-employed individual. Sign up for a portal account to manage your Social Security information online. Just provide accurate information and click Create. This will give you access to a range of services and benefits. Next, your contribution, along with investments and other income, are collected and distributed into 3 funds. This ensures that the SSB fund is securely utilized to support various benefit programs. The SSB is committed to providing essential benefits such as sickness, maternity, injury, and pension. These benefits are paid out to eligible individuals as a part of the Social Security coverage. We help you navigate through life's challenges with financial security. Annual surplus accumulates to grow the fund each year. This surplus is invested into various industries, contributing to the growth and development of our nation. With each passing year, the fund continues to grow due to the annual surplus and interest revenue earned from prudent investments. This surplus, along with reserves, helps to bolster the SSB fund and provide a safety net for those in need. We've arrived at the end of our journey to better understanding how the SSB works. We remain committed to serving you and building a secure future for all Belizeans.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
If we all don't come together and work together to change the bigger climate picture, these efforts will be in vain.
It's right there.
I believe that we have something special that is also a secret right now, which is unexplored, undiscovered.
I've been with the sugar fishermen all morning, catching lobster and conch. And then we realized it's time for lunch. And man, it's gonna be good. I think they deserve it.
Taking its name from the venerable father of the nation, the George Price Highway stretches 77 miles from Belize City to Benqueviejo. Originally built in the 1930s, this cross-country highway system is the artery that links Belize to Central America at the western border with Guatemala. That connection facilitates overland trade, supporting Belize's economic development. Winding its way across the scenic countryside, the George Price Highway from Roaring Creek to Esperanza has been fully reconstructed to meet international standards, with particular emphasis on road safety. A shorter and hassle-free commute is best enjoyed when everyone obeys the traffic laws. To reduce the number and frequency of road traffic accidents, it means that a seatbelt must be worn at all times and the speed limit observed when traveling along the highway. It also means that pedestrians must use sidewalks and crosswalks where available. Buses should only board and discharge passengers at a designated bus stop. Road safety is everyone's responsibility. It begins with you.
Welcome back. We are having our final conversation this morning, and it's all about the celebration of World Customs Day. I understand, Paul, that this is an annual conversation that we have here on Open Your Eyes. So we have the professionals here with us to talk about World Customs Day and how we will be celebrating it this year. So we have here with us Tennille Pereira. She is Officer 2 with the Customs Department. Also Lauren Fraser, and he is Officer 3 with the Customs. And over to my left is Lenny Isigeri, and she is the Director of the Financial Intelligence Unit. Guys, good morning, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so we are celebrating World Customs Day with the theme Harmonizing Borders, Fostering a Sustainable and Inclusive Global Trade Environment.
A little correction, Sabrina. It's customs engaging traditional and new partners with purpose.
Okay, so the theme is customs engaging new partners.
Traditional and new.
Okay, partners.
All right. Well, thank you for that correction there. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the theme then. Since we have an updated theme, let's talk about what this theme means for the Customs Department here in Belize.
So every year, WCO, the World Customs Organization, celebrates International Customs Day. It's not really World. We tend to say World Customs Day, it's actually International Customs Day. And it's celebrated on the 26th of January. So for that day, customs throughout the world will be celebrating and put customs first. So each year they celebrate it on a different theme. And this year, the theme came right in line with us, because over the past years, we've been enhancing several of our partners, and we have been engaging new ones. And especially last year, we embarked on a time release study where we are studying how long it takes for a good to enter into Belize from the minute it lands. It is considered landed until the time it reaches the hand of the importer, whether it come by land, sea, or air. So we can then see how fast we facilitate goods in Belize. And in doing that, we had to actually identify every step that it takes for that good to land until it released, and every single partner hands that it passed through, and we had to actually engage with all of them. So throughout, from May throughout there, we're still continuing, where our target is maybe March, or maybe if it does not complete, a little past that. So when we saw the team at the end of November, it lined up just with what we were doing for that year. So it rang a bell.
What, What, since you're on that topic, I'd like to ask, like, what have that study been showing so far? If you can speak anything to it in terms of perhaps what may be some of the bottlenecks or some of the challenges that we're currently working on to iron out to make that process a bit more efficient.
Well, I cannot give you that data yet because the data was just collected up until the 6th of January. So now they're going through finalizing and see what the data is saying.
Okay.
So we don't fully know what it is.
Mr. Fraser, if we could bring you into the conversation to take a step back to kind of explain a bit of the role and responsibilities of the Custom and Excise Department.
Yes, as Mrs. Pereira said, that our engagement with our stakeholders and partners is a very is one of the most important roles and functions of the Customs Department, where we perform a lot of agency duties. And in so doing, we align it with our mission, which speaks to safety and security. It speaks to contributing to the development of Belize's economic development. It also speaks to facilitating trade. It speaks to combating smuggling and illicit activities, protecting the environment, and also in fostering fair trade practices. So these are all functions that are, and of course, collecting and safeguarding government revenue, but that is the role and function most people see of us.
Right.
And Tekwe Goods.
I was just going to say the perception is that you're there to check my bag and charge me money for what I have in my bag. And so when I
take away your stuff.
And take away my stuff.
But sorry, like I said though, that role goes beyond just the collection of revenue and, as I said, safety of your food and through our collaborations with Baja. We are the front line for plant importation, animal importation. In the past, you have seen where one infection or one bug can wipe out your pine industry, your banana industry, your poultry industry. And similarly, as I said, we have the Department of the Environment. We act on their behalf, the plastic importation legislation, the ozone depleting substance importation, where they're phasing out certain equipment with older refrigerants and stuff like that, where it's harmful to the environment.
Before we're able to dive a bit deeper into some of the functions of the Customs and Excise Department, I want to get Mrs. Igeri into the conversation as director of the FIU. Let's talk about the collaboration with both these organizations.
Right. So, as Mr. Fraser was saying, Customs has an important role to play. And one of the ways we collaborate is under the broader topic of ensuring Belize's financial integrity and the role that countering financial crimes has to play with that. So he would have referred to the fact that Customs has a lot of agency roles. In fact, at one point, they were an agent and collaborated with FIU in terms of accepting declarations for movement of funds across the border. Now they fully assumed that role, so the FIU no longer has a role to play in that, but we still collaborate with them. So they play an important aspect in preventing, detecting, and disrupting cash smuggling, and also looking at aspects of trade-based money laundering, which is ensuring that the trade process isn't abused, or that we have mechanisms to prevent and detect abuse of those processes for money laundering.
So what happens in the event that an individual enters the country, declares a large quantity of funds as entering the country? Well, first of all, I guess the first question should be, is there a cap to the amount of cash on hand that an individual can bring into the country? And how does the Custom and Excise Department go about verifying the source or means of those funds? And is that then a collaborative effort with the FIU to perhaps do an investigation where questions and concerns may arise?
Yes, upon arrival via ports, legal ports of entry, the limit is 20,000 Belize dollars.
Okay, 20,000.
Anything under that, you do not have to
Declare.
Above that, 20,000 and above, there's a form C300 that is filled out by the declarant, the importer, and we would ask questions as relating to the source of that funds. If it's from legitimate sources, the form is filled out legitimately, and we also do the reporting to the FIU. I think monthly, that those information are shared with them. If it was concealed in any way and was trying to be smuggled in, then that would then be forwarded as well to the FIU for further processing and maybe even court actions and seizures.
Yeah.
Does the FIU do a further investigation or digging into these reports to ensure that the information provided are in fact true, that the Custom and Excise Department did their due diligence, or are these reports just placed on the desk to say, hi, we are confident that they did what they needed to do?
So we keep the reports in a database, which we use to analyze. So it's a very valuable source of information, intelligence for us at the FIU, and we use it in terms of trying to understand transactions, trends, patterns that we're seeing, and whether or not that triggers any sort of reason for concern. As Mr. Fraser would have also indicated, there are specific cases that may trigger suspicion with customs officials. So of course those matters are treated differently. We assist with the financial aspect of verifying any information or checking into the source of the funds and determining whether or not the matter needs to be escalated into an investigation beyond our initial inquiries. So we collaborate in that regard.
Why is it this process important for the financial integrity of the country, as you mentioned?
Well, Belize is a part of a global network that has undertaken to implement the FATF recommendation. So that's the Financial Action Task Force. A part of that requires all countries to have mechanisms to prevent cash smuggling. And one of those mechanisms is to have a declaration system in terms of cash. So we look at cash as one of the ways funds could be laundered, the bulk smuggling of cash, and it's also an indicator, of course, that there might be an underlying illicit activity. So it's one of the areas that we monitor. The FIU can't be at every port of entry, so of course we lean on our colleagues who are most poised to carry out that function.
Yeah. So this is only one of the collaborative entities that the Customs and Excise Department works with to execute its functions. As you mentioned, the Department of Environment is also another popular one. You work closely with BAHA in ensuring that no sort of effects to our plants and food happens as well. Let's talk about some of the other functions of the Customs and Excise Department, and in doing so, how we will be celebrating International Customs Day.
So, well, he basically explained most of our functions, but in celebrating International Customs Day, we'll be having a information fair on Friday, where we'll be inviting these partners. Normally it will be a fair that just have customs dealing with information. Last year the theme was about engaging and sharing of information. So last year we went out to the schools and took knowledge to them. So this year we're going to come back in and we're going to have a booth with all the different partners that are able to be there. So when persons come in, they will see what each of these partners does, and then see that connection in trade. So you will see that it's not only customs, we're only one, or maybe the main, but just one.
They're kind of like the frontline workers for all these other entities that, you know, you're assisting.
Yeah, we're the eyes for everyone.
What are some common misconception that travelers have about the sort of products and goods that they can bring in into the country and the quantities that they can or cannot bring? Because I would imagine that oftentimes you'll have to, as a customs officer, you'll have to deal with diffusing some tense or situations that can become very tense, where an individual has spent certain amount of their funds on something, expecting that it can go through the border and arrive at home, just to find out that, hey, this is not allowed, or hey, I will have to take this away, and then it creates that tension. What are some of the misconceptions there, if there's any that you commonly come across?
To be honest, from my experience, I more think that persons try to test the limit, try to act that ignorance of the law, but they know. I would say that they know, because by their method of concealment and stuff, they know what they're doing 9 out of 10 times. And many of these functions, again, goes back to our agency functions acting on behalf of other agencies, because these are normally restricted and prohibited items, such as enforcing stuff for the beer and the stuff for the supplies control unit. Those are issuing. That would be the issuing authority for the license. In that, as I said, the hiding a ham in your purse. You know, those are, as I said, they do concealment, so they know what they're doing.
So how much or the value of the items that I can bring in? Like, how much am I allowed to bring in at what value?
There are personal exemptions afforded by law to travelers coming through the international airport. It's $200 Belize twice a year, and through the land borders, it's 50 Belize once a month.
50 Belize dollars. That's the value of the items you're
exempted amount.
Exempted.
Anything beyond that is dutiable. All right, and also for alcohol through the airport, it's 1 liter of spirit per person over the age of 18, and from the land borders, it's from beyond the neighboring border town. So you rule out Chetumal and Melchor one time.
Another common question, and perhaps controversial within the public domain, is what happens to these goods that are confiscated? What do you guys do with it? Does it go to charity? Is it destroyed?
Do the customs officers share it? Take it home?
We ask only because people ask.
That is always the big question. So whenever we're going to do a presentation, we're going to school, whether it's public service day, that's the question everybody
wants to
always prepare for, because that always comes.
I would imagine.
People are of the mindset that we take them home.
Yeah.
But many of the things that we taken away is not for us. Like, for example, with Baja, the meats and those stuff. So when we take those away, those go to Baja. But certain things which are consumable are given to feeding programs or to schools. Certain items are auctioned. And certain things which are not consumable or would not be considered to be auctioned, they will be destroyed. And whenever it is destroyed, it will not be destroyed just with customs. There needs to be accountability. So there will be someone from customs, someone from police, someone from Baja, whichever other agency might be needed to be there, just to ensure that there is always that accountability to say, okay, customs will not take it home. But no more, how many times we say that, people will still have that concept.
Because, I mean, it's just natural to think that.
No, so those are pretty much the 3 means of disposal: destruction, donation, or auction sale. So those, and that was one of my favorite function throughout my career, was when I was going to destroy stuff.
Was it? Why did you like it?
Because could have produced the evidence,
Yeah.
that we don't take it at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I had many pictures. Unfortunately, I seem to have lost them where, you know, we have big bonfires and tractors railroading or crushing the items and burying them. So that was honestly one of my favorite functions. And many times I don't, those were in storage for extended period of time. So to even think of consuming it, you'd be taking a risk.
Right.
Yeah, it's expired.
Ms. Yesagiri, if I could bring you back into the conversation, as we continue to advance our financial policies to align with our regional policies and standards and international policies and standards, I would imagine that the Customs and Excise Department also needs to be abreast and aware and informed of these updates. What sort of continued collaborative efforts are there to ensure that they continue to remain with the relevant information?
That's a great question, and actually it allows me to indicate that there's a National Anti-Money Laundering Committee whose job it is to follow the standards, to understand the amendments to it, to contribute internationally to that discussion through its representative agencies. And the Customs and Excise Department is a member of that committee. Okay. So they're a member of that committee, so they are aware and they do stay engaged in how the international standards are developing, how they might be amended and how this will impact Belize. That committee also has subcommittees or working groups that are at an operational level, such as the Financial Crimes Working Group. And again, we have a representative from the Customs and Excise Department on that working group as well. And that's a working group primarily of other law enforcement agencies who looks at the specific aspects as it relates to law enforcement, interdicting crime, and they advise on how policies or procedures could be amended, and they also work together to review intelligence, to consider leads, and to also discuss how they can better collaborate on matters.
All right. Well, simply because we are running out of time, remind us again how we will be celebrating International Customs Day for persons that are interested in learning more information about the customs and their work. How can they get involved?
So on Friday we'll be having an open day. Everyone can feel free to come in. It will be right in the yard. You will see the tent up with the different booths. Feel free to come and ask any questions that you might have, like what we do with the goods that we take away. And be aware of what custom does and all the other agencies that plays its role in that line. So awareness.
And remind us of the theme one more time for this year.
Customs engaging traditional and new partners with purpose. So, and the week actually started yesterday with a church service. Today we're on multiple morning shows. Tomorrow we will do a service day where we'll be giving out food to the homeless. Okay. Also, we plan to give back a little to society, to the community as well by Thursday, putting together some pantries for needy or identified needy families, as well as a staff social later in the, a little bit of partying has to happen, right?
Of course.
And of course the open day on Friday to commemorate and celebrate the actual day.
With none of the items that were taken away, I imagine.
Yeah, those are all destroyed.
None of the...
Strictly Bellic in our mind there.
None of the Coronas.
Strictly Bellic in our mind there.
And hopefully in the future we can have you back when your study is completed and there's data that is ready to be released to the public. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. It was very insightful and informative conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we take our final break, and when we come back, we wrap things up. Stay with us.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where he selects the evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
This plan, I can't left this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers! We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered-up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning-fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a Lone Ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced full high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't left this plan. I can't left this plan.
If we all don't come together and work together to change the bigger climate picture, these efforts will be in vain.
It's right there.
I believe that we have something special that is also a secret right now, which is unexplored, undiscovered.
I've been with the sugar fishermen all morning, catching lobster and conch. And then we realized it's time for lunch. And man, it's gonna be good. I think they deserve it.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. On this Tuesday morning, we had 3 wonderful conversations. Paul, I want to say a special thank you to our guests for joining us this morning, but also a big thank you to you, our viewers, for sticking with us on this Tuesday morning. It is January the 23rd. It is almost the end of the first month, Paul.
January feels like forever.
I know.
And this week will feel like forever only because it's still January. But after that, we'll be in December. So no worries.
Yes. After this month, it's December again. But yes, if you are celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. If you'd like to give a birthday shout out, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can send us an email at oie@channel5belize.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, as well as Instagram at OYE Belize. Thanks so much for joining us, and please join us again tomorrow as you open your eyes
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
And your hearts open.
Have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.